This is Smarter San Diego TV.
Millennials and baby boomers alike, they want to be in urban environments right now.
Thank God for the Electoral College vote.
In a 4-hour breakfast, we raised $9,000. So that's something that we take pretty seriously.
And you can't diet your way into being lean and fit. They go together.
In New York City, deciding what's best for the rest of the freaking country.
This is not a market built on a stack of cards. It's a solid foundation.
0%. That is a thumbs up.
Everyone has a life worth telling a story about. And the more adversity that you faced, the deeper your story.
Well, am I going to be okay in it? Like, am I going to be able to walk?
There's just so much creativity in this town that it's hard to hide it.
Well, you have these beliefs, well, what do you do with it?
The top volleyball club in San Diego and the nation is joining us on set today. Give a huge welcome to Wave Beach Director Matt Olson and athletes Ravina Bailey and Kaylee Graff.
All right, here we are. It's volleyball time. We got the Wave volleyball crew here. Matt Olson, how you doing, my friend?
Doing very well. How are you?
Thanks for coming in today to talk to us about Wave. My daughter couldn't be here. She's a player at Wave. Her mom's actually a coach too, and so we have a lot going on there at Wave. But I've seen what it's been for her, and I thought it was so cool. I was like, you know what, we have to get you guys on the show. We have to tell people about what's going on there at Wave, which is one of the premier volleyball clubs in the nation, really. Yep. And it's right here in our backyard here in San Diego. We have a couple of athletes that you brought with us today, Ravina and Kaylee. How you guys doing?
Good.
All right. Do you guys always talk at the same time?
No.
Are you brothers? Forrest Gump joke, sorry. That's probably, do you guys know Forrest Gump?
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember that?
No.
All right, so we're going to have some fun today, but you're both seniors, is that right?
I'm a junior.
I'm a senior.
Okay, junior, senior, but you both play on the 18s.
Yes.
Beach.
Yeah.
You're both beach players. Which is a new thing, right, Matt? Like this,
yeah.
Volleyball was like beach has been around for a long time. I mean, Karchikarai days, everybody remembers that. But it's just become something that's, I guess you would say, academically incorporated into what's going on at the colleges. Is that right?
Sure. Yeah, that's correct. The beach volleyball game's growing, and it became an NC2A sport about 2 years ago. And so since that happened, the beach side of Wave volleyball has just kind of taken off like this. And these are two athletes that actually played indoor earlier in their career, and they saw the opportunity, they switched to beach, and now they're college-committed beach players, and they're really enjoying the experience in the sand, if you will.
Yeah, which is so cool. I love beach. It's such a different game. Two completely different games. But if you go and you watch some high-level indoor, it's amazing. It's like watching an orchestra take place. I mean, it's crazy what's going on, how many people there are, how many responsibilities. In beach, it's you and one other person.
Correct.
Do you guys play with each other? Are you guys on a team, if you will?
I mean, we practice at a club together. That's together. Like our team.
It's I
mean, like when you're competing, is it you two?
We've played in a tournament one time.
One time?
We like switch partners. It's your team is whoever you choose for that weekend.
Oh, really? So, okay, so it's, all right.
A little different.
Yeah, so how does that work? How many players are there on the 18s Wave Beach team?
Yeah, it's a great question. So in our club, as the girls just talked about, there are 250 athletes approximately. And so the 18s is anyone that is either a junior or senior classified as an 18s. So it's a little different than indoor. Where indoor we have 4 18s teams, 4 17s teams. Where on the beach we've got probably, let's say, 12 or 14 athletes that comprise the 17s and 18s division.
Okay.
And on the beach, 17 and 18s play together. So it's all one group, and so these two comprise of an 18 and under age group.
So like at a tournament, you would have, like 7 or 8 different teams in that age group.
Yeah, correct. Right. We could, but like each tournament, the players. So indoor, the teams they're set tournaments they have to go to. Beach, these players can choose where they want to go to, and so sometimes we'll have 8 teams at a tournament. Sometimes we'll have 15. Sometimes we'll have 2.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a little different on that front.
But it's not like they're tagging each other in, right? Like once you have a team of 2, that's set
for that day.
Okay,
yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah,
that's
different.
So much fun though. I mean, beach, and this is how young are the beach players at Wave? Because I know my daughter started a little earlier than most. She started when she was 6, indoor, which is pretty early. A lot of the girls start when they're maybe 9, indoor. What about beach?
So this time of year, during our spring season, we have what is it? It's 5th through 12th grade is what we offer.
Okay.
That's kind of how it comprises, but we also have 3rd through 6th grade clinics like the indoor club does. And indoor, as you mentioned, is like pretty much 10 and under is the first age group that starts. For us, there's like a 12U division that would start, so it's a little older than indoor. Indoor, there's probably more opportunities at the younger ages.
Yeah, because it's just a lot harder game.
Yeah.
The beach game is just a lot harder. A great workout. I mean, in fact, I reached out to you to figure out where to buy a good volleyball net for outdoor because I want to start playing with Maya on the beach because it's a good workout.
For sure.
Plain simple. But for these young athletes, I mean, for you guys, you at some point made a decision to go to beach, right? I'm assuming that you didn't always want to play beach. You were playing indoor. You started there, right?
Yeah.
Both of you?
Yeah, at one point when I first started, I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
But then a year later, I decided that I wanted to switch officially.
Okay, you both had the same experience? You started playing beach and didn't like it?
Yeah.
Like, I started playing indoor, and then I tried beach, and it was, like, too hard.
Yeah, I was like, this is bad.
And then, like, I kind of missed beach, and then so I went back to beach, and I stayed.
Now, why did you go back to beach?
I mean, I like the atmosphere of being on a beach instead of the gym.
It's more fun, yeah.
And less people, so you're touching every play, whereas indoor you could be sitting on the bench, not involved.
Okay, so it's just a lot more involved. There's a lot more going on. So if you want to be seriously active with it, beach might be for you then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for maybe the younger athletes out there who are playing indoor, maybe they're not super stoked about it as far as considering the beach side?
If you don't like it, keep going. I mean, it worked out for us.
Yeah.
So when we say worked out, what does that mean exactly when you say worked out?
Like, it ended up being fun.
I
really didn't like I went home, like, almost crying to my mom, like, don't make me do that again.
That's hilarious. Well, now, I guess what I was sort of poking towards with the worked out thing is that you both you're committed to playing in beach in college.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And you're a senior, you're a junior. So as a junior, you're already committed to a college. What college are you guys going to?
I'm going to Cal State University, Long Beach.
Awesome. And are you able to get a scholarship for playing beach at these universities?
Long Beach doesn't offer a scholarship
for
beach volleyball, but
that's cool.
I'm going to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and
nice.
I got a scholarship to play there.
Very, very cool. I was just in San Luis Obispo this weekend. I think you're going to really like it there.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
It's really, really cool. That is amazing. So Matt, the game's changed then. It's not just indoor, because the outdoor player isn't also the physicality, the different. You know, like indoor, you sort of have very specific roles, right? Middles, outsides, defensive specialists, setters. But in the beach, you kind of got to be able to do everything.
Right? Exactly right. You're experienced volleyball coaching yourself. You named all those correctly and et cetera. But yeah, like the girls mentioned it, and you've mentioned as well already in the show that on indoor there's 6 people on the court at one time, and on the beach there's only 2. One unknown little fact is that the beach court is slightly smaller. So there is a little less surface area to cover, but if you're just looking at the 2 courts, you probably never catch that. But it is a little smaller. And some athletes, for whatever reasons, decide to phase out of indoor, and then beach is an avenue. But because you have to be good at every skill, and you touch the ball, as Kaylee mentioned, every other touch, like you're very hands-on, and it kind of you got to be very engaged to make it work.
Yeah, there's no taking plays off.
No, you lose.
Yeah. You can't take any plays off. But it's also a totally different game, whereas the indoor game is more of a power game, right? Especially as you get to the older levels. Sure. It's very much a power game.
Sure.
The attacks, back row attacks, even in the ladies, which you didn't see that a lot. Even I watched a lot of college volleyball in the 90s and early 2000s, and you didn't see a lot of back row attacks in the women's game. But you do now.
Yeah.
I mean, even earlier than college, you're seeing back row attacks and stuff like that. So it's really a power game indoor. Outdoor, more of a finesse game. Did you guys notice that when you made the transition?
Yes, like for beach, it's just placing the ball where the other team isn't. Like you don't have to swing really hard. Like that gets kills and it gets points, but like if you just like poke the ball over the net, then you can win that way.
Hit it where they ain't. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that's more like of a mind game. Think got to be one step ahead.
Yeah.
Right. It's a lot more about deception, right? When you're attacking, you want to get them to think that you're going somewhere that you're not.
Yeah.
And as long as you can do that, I mean, some of the best side out guys in the history of AVP and gals too were just super good. I mean, they weren't necessarily the freakish, jumpers, or there were a few guys out there who were
Sure.
freakish like that, but most of them were just really good at being extremely deceitful with their attack.
Yeah.
And hitting it in places where you just couldn't imagine that's where they were going to hit it, based on where their body was, where they were looking, and how they approached it. So, that is a little bit more of a chess match aspect to the beach game, whereas I think the indoor game is probably a little more about execution. Get the perfect pass, get the perfect set, smash the ball. Do you find that it's more rewarding to dink one when somebody has some big block, just dink it right over them, versus spiking the ball down, or do you still look for those opportunities to whale away?
I think they're both fun, getting the point.
Just if you make an easy play and you get the point, that's fun. But then, if you get a perfect set, then you want to swing as hard as you can, because then it feels good. It feels good to be able to hit really hard and get a point that way too. And our coaches, they always say to come in hard, so the other team thinks you're gonna hit, and then you just roll shot it really fast.
Yeah.
And then the other team is just stuck on their feet; they don't know what to do. So that works.
Okay. What is coaching like? What's the difference, for you, Matt? Is that you've transitioned to the beach guy at Wave.
Yeah.
What is that like now? What is different?
Well, I think the biggest difference what we're experiencing is that, so on the beach we have 4 to 5 courts going at one time per practice, and these girls can attest that I kind of bounce around, and so I am with a variety of different players, and on the bottom courts sometimes we have kids that are just very inexperienced, and so they're working on approaches and kind of early technique in the game, where these girls in the top court are much more advanced, much faster, as you mentioned, kind of the college level. And so for me, being able to see it all at every practice has been very interesting and rewarding. And indoor, and when I've coached indoor, it's actually been a while, but you have one group of 10 or 12 girls you're with every single practice. And so you're developing different things in different ways, where the beach, it's an ongoing. And then at the beach, we have wind one day, cold the next, rain the following. And so there's always elements that are involved as well, and sometimes our practices are shaped they go back sets or they go lower sets based on the conditions, so it always keeps us all on our toes, which is really fun.
No question, the wind can be huge when it comes to beach
big
volleyball.
Part of it.
Great stuff, Matt. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate your time today. Ladies, thank you so much for coming,
Thank
and
you.
Good luck at the next level.
Thank you.
Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.
Good catch.
What are the benefits of using an area expert when buying and selling your home? Please welcome Realtor from Halcyon Real Estate Services, Cynthia Elizondo, and Loan Officer from Cornerstone Mortgage Group, Rick Sidley.
All right, welcome to the show. First timers on the program. Yes. Great to have you both here, Rick and Cynthia. We're going to talk today, the subject here is really about, should you use an area expert? This is something that has come up a lot in real estate over the course of the last, I would say, few years, 3-4 years. The area expert. A lot of agents are picking certain areas and really focusing on those areas and wanting to become the area expert. But there are a lot of agents. San Diego County is huge that sell properties all over the place. So, Rick, let's start with you from the mortgage side. As a loan officer, what do you think about this subject?
I think that having someone that knows the area is such an advantage to you as a home buyer or seller, because they're dialed into what who's looking for, the type of people that are looking for properties in that area. From a mortgage perspective, it's great too, because we can cater to their needs within that community, and we know what's going on. We know values are going to come in, and it all works.
Okay, so you think that's a smart thing for home buyers and home sellers to be looking into. Cynthia?
I totally agree. I think that it's very important to know the area specific to where you're looking as well as what you're selling. Case in point, I recently visited on Caravan, touring the homes on just come up for sale. I talked to the listing agent on one of the homes, and she was talking about how things weren't selling. It wasn't, she wasn't getting the activity that she expected, and I said, well, that's probably because of what's going on on the golf course. And she looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what are you talking about? She had no idea that the golf course was about to go away and that they were going to start developing the area. So that beautiful view was about to go away. How would somebody know that if they didn't know the area?
And that was a listing agent.
That was the listing agent
Someone
who
who had a
didn't know
listing. And that's right. So for me on this one, I'm split a little bit. I think if you're buying in an area, you have to use an agent that specializes in that area because they'll know things like that. They'll be able to protect you from buying that house, and that is going to lose its view, or that is just on one road over from where it's really worth a lot more, or you never buy south of this road, or don't, like there's certain things like that. That the local area expert will know, and as a buyer, you need to know that. I think if you're a seller, I think it's less important, although it still could behoove a lot of sellers. I think it's less important if you're selling your home to use an area expert, because a lot of times the buyer isn't going to come from that area. Now, sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes what we've noticed is that the area expert on listings can get really narrow about, well, I know this area, this is what that's worth. And sometimes in up markets like this, the person who's coming from outside and saying, no, we can get more, gets it. And that happens. So not all agents are created equal, as you both well know. So having a great agent is really important. I think first and foremost, have a great agent. But absolutely, in my opinion, if you're buying in an area, you had best be using an area expert, or you'll lose your view.
But on the listing side too, it's important to have somebody that knows everything that needs to be disclosed. For instance, I live in a neighborhood that has polybutylene plumbing. If the seller doesn't know that they need to disclose that, they could get into trouble later on if the listing agent doesn't tell them, you need to disclose this. Because they may not know that it's important. They know that they have it, but they don't know that they have to disclose it. So it's important to have a listing agent that knows everything about the home as well as to the neighborhood and the area and the transaction.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you can always make a case for using the area expert in real estate, I think. But what I'm saying is that if you're buying, you absolutely have to.
Absolutely.
You can't not. You'll make a mistake. I mean, it's just too easy to make a mistake with that. Like for example, that poor listing agent had no idea about what was going on with the golf course. If she had been representing a buyer, okay. Now think about that.
That could get ugly.
Look, this is beautiful. That could get really ugly, right? I mean, lawsuits could come up down the road on something like that, and no one wants to be involved in anything like that. So I think that it's something to definitely consider. But now let's define it, because this is a really loose interpretation. Like a lot of people are running around saying, I'm this expert, I'm the Rancho Bernardo expert, I'm the Escondido expert, I'm the beach expert. So how do you actually know if they are the expert in that local area?
I recently had a client call me. It was a young client looking to buy in downtown area. I'm not from downtown, so he asked me, how well do you know the downtown area? And he quizzed me, and he actually made me prove that I know the downtown area well enough. He ended up using me. He got a great property for a great price.
Okay, so in this case, you think just ask the right questions.
Ask the right questions.
Ask the right questions.
Okay, make sure that they know what they're doing.
Interview. Don't just assume.
Is there a certain number of sales in the area you should expect in the last 12 months or anything like that? A lot of people are on Zillow, they're looking up these things, and they're kind of trying to figure out for themselves if someone's an area expert or whatever, maybe they don't want to ask questions. So we found that, a lot of times consumers, they don't want to ask questions.
Right.
They want to do research online and find all the answers there. So for people like that, I mean, is there any kind of benchmark that we should give them and say, hey, this is kind of the minimum amount?
I don't know that there's necessarily a minimum amount of transactions that a person needs to have completed in a certain area, but rather has demonstrated a knowledge of the area or has lived in the area. I mean, if somebody lives in the area, maybe they've only been an agent for 3 years, but they've lived there for 20, they can probably still be considered an area expert.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So look at how much time they spend there.
Right.
Could be a good one. Do they live there?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Do their kids go to school there? Do they know the kindergarten teacher?
Well, and it's amazing what you learn from one transaction when you work in a new area. Even just one. That's the hard part there. Is if you take your job seriously and you get after it and you're going to sell a home in a new area and your buyer knows that and they're willing to still work with you, because that happens too.
Yeah.
You're going to learn about it. And once you learn about it, things change somewhat, but not a lot. You know, if you do your job well, you're going to do it well the next time too.
Yeah.
So I don't know about a minimum number.
Yeah.
It can depend.
It
Again,
may
it
not
depends on the
exist.
agent. Right.
It's a shallow way of looking at it, but just a lot of the buyers out there,
right.
They just don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
They just want to look online and get all their answers there. Another thing you guys want to talk about, because this is something that has come up. So there's discount brokerages out there, big sort of what we call big box real estate companies, for which this doesn't exist.
Right.
So you can't really get an area expert. I mean, you might luck upon something, but like you can't even request a certain agent, right? You have to just use whoever's in the queue.
Right.
And the question, I guess, is does that diminish their overall objective in the marketplace if they really can never represent an area expert?
Well, I guess in our opinion, based on our conversation and how our approach has been so far in this conversation, yes. I mean, any good real estate agent can do a good job for you, right? If they're good at what they do. But the advantage of working with someone is what we're talking about. The advantage of working with someone who's familiar with the area. It doesn't mean they couldn't do a good job. It just means, in my opinion, that you're going to get a better job from someone who is an expert in that area.
Cynthia, I don't want you to bite your tongue on this one.
Well, to me, it's just another level of expertise. An agent in the big box brokerages, they know their business too. They can probably get you through the transaction. But if you have that extra level of expertise in the area, then you're just going to get that much better service, and you're going to get more specifically what you want for the price you want it.
And make sure you keep your view.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're working to help them make the largest purchase they'll ever make, probably in their lifetime, right? And so, work with someone you trust. Work with someone who's an expert in the area. Work with someone who you've spent some time with to build that trust. That's who we end up helping. Ultimately, me too. Always me. I'm the money side of things, and I don't close a transaction with someone that doesn't trust I'm doing a good job for them. Otherwise, they just go elsewhere, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually another good point. Is it's also important to have a lender who knows the area as well. I mean, using a big box lender who doesn't know even the whole San Diego market isn't going to be able to get you the loan that you need, as well as a lender who really does know that local market.
Yeah, it definitely makes a difference.
And
especially when you're talking about
one that works well with the agent.
Right, that's important. Also understanding, the guidelines for different things. People are buying FHA, VA. What are the compatibility issues? What are the requirements for the properties? What are things that will fly, things that won't fly with the appraisal, and all that stuff? Yeah. You miss a lot of that with the big box lending, which I would never recommend anyone go down that road. The bait and switch looks great, but this switch is the part that sucks. And the lack of expertise obviously is a big deal, but I think this is something that people are looking into more and more now. It's something they're hearing about more, and unfortunately the big box doesn't really offer this. So if you are, I say you can't go wrong. You're buying or selling a home with an area expert, you can't go wrong, and if you don't, it's a little bit of a roll of the dice.
Amen.
And you might lose your view. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to see that happen. Guys, thank you so much for coming in today. Rick and Cynthia,
thank you very much for having us.
Fantastic topic. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Commercial free.
Our next guest on Smarter San Diego is here to educate us about tankless water heaters. From the real estate inspection company, please welcome Philippe Heller.
All right, it's that time. Philippe Heller's back in the house. What's up, my man?
How's it going?
How you doing?
Great.
So today we're going to talk about tankless water heaters.
Yes.
The truth, as you always bring it to us here on the show, and people really appreciate, clearly, by the number of views that you're getting on every segment. So first and foremost, a water heater is a mechanism that heats the water, right? And most water heaters have a tank.
Yes.
And that's where they have water in that tank, and they heat that water up, and that's the water that comes to your faucet.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Traditional water heater that we all know and love in our garage usually, or in a closet, is just a great big tank with a burner on the bottom, and it keeps that water hot so it's available when we need it.
Okay. There's all the rave about these tankless water heaters, which I'm a little bit miffed. I don't understand. Like, how do you? I'm mystified by this. how do you heat water without the tank?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you can explain to us how these are supposed to work.
Sure.
First.
Well, what the idea is that they don't use any gas until you actually have a demand for hot water. So if you go on vacation or just during the day when you're at work, they're not using any gas to keep a tank of 40 or 50 gallons hot. A traditional tank water heater does use gas throughout the day to keep that water hot. So the idea is to eliminate that gas usage and only use gas when you need hot water. And that results in some savings of natural gas or propane, or even electricity.
Sounds good. Sounds like a good idea. Hey, you're right. While I'm at work here, while we're here, our old school water heater is heating up that water at the house, which we clearly aren't going to need for a while.
Correct.
So that sounds like a good idea. There's a but though.
Well, this is Smarter San Diego, so we're trying to educate people. And one of the things to think about is if you live in an older home, and when I say that, maybe 25 years or more, there may be a lot of additional costs in upgrading to a tankless water heater. So whenever you're thinking of an energy-saving device, whether it's a clothes washer or light bulbs or whatever, you have to calculate the payback. And is it worth the upgraded expense in order to save a little bit of money? And with tankless water heaters, that's not always the case.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that it is all fine and dandy, and there is savings potentially there.
Yeah.
But how long will it take me to recoup if I have to invest into a new tankless water heater?
Well, that always comes down to the cost of it. So if you have to, many of the tankless water heaters, because they heat water instantaneously, there's a big draw of gas. Obviously, you need to heat that water very quickly as it passes through the unit. Therefore, many houses have to have an upgraded gas supply from a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch. So there's a cost to having a plumber come in and do that. Then, since the water is fed to the tanks usually from the bottom rather than the top, you also have to reroute some plumbing. In addition, you have to do the flue from a traditional galvanized steel to PVC or to stainless steel. So there's a lot of extra costs. If you have to incur, another $1,000 on top of the expensive water heater, your payback is going to be so long that it really doesn't make sense.
Because you might be saving $10, $20 a month in gas.
Yeah. Depends on the size of your family.
Yeah, but not a lot.
Right.
So if it costs you $3 or $4 grand to get a new heater and get all the things done,
correct,
then you're talking about like a 20-year payback.
At least, yes. Plus all the disruption.
That is not smarter, San Diego. Okay, we got to keep it smarter. So, what would make sense for people who maybe, let's say, the water heater's on the fritz or whatever, and they're thinking about getting a new one anyway? What would maybe be a smarter move?
Well, water heaters in general last about 10 years on average. Some less. We've seen brand new water heaters in tract homes. They buy contractor grade. They only last 6 or 7 years. Some last a bit more. You get the higher end ones. Today, you have some higher efficiency tank water heaters. So these don't have a standing pilot. They light a pilot kind of like your furnace only when it needs to heat the tank. They have better insulation, etc. We recommend that if you have an older home and it would cost you a lot of money to upgrade to a tankless, consider getting a high efficiency tank water heater. And that can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. One is you're going to use less gas, and number 2, you're not going to incur all the expenses retrofitting your house to accommodate a tankless water heater.
But don't you get these tankless water heaters, don't you get immediate hot water? Isn't that one of the draws too, is that you don't have that waiting
delay
period? Yeah.
A lot. It's called a cold water sandwich, and it's that slug of cold water in the pipe that is between the water heater and your faucet. So when you turn it on, we all have that, where you have to wait a minute or 2, sometimes longer, for hot water to actually come out of the tap. A lot of people think when you buy tankless, it's going to deliver hot water immediately, and that's not the case. So a lot of people, even after spending all that money, are disappointed to find out that they still have to wait the same amount of time before that hot water actually gets to their faucet.
It's kind of like the opposite in the summers when you used to drink out of the hose.
And it's burning hot.
Yeah, and the first couple of minutes is just scorching water that you have to wait out, and there's no way around that, is there?
There is. You can get a recirculating pump installed, and there are a couple different kinds. Some are on demand, where you push a little button and then it starts the water flowing through the system without actually wasting any. And that way, when you turn on the faucet, the hot water is there and available. But again, that's another expense. But you could do that with either a traditional tank or a tankless water heater.
And if maybe you're building your own house or a new construction thing, or you're just going to tear the whole thing down anyway and do a rebuild.
Right, on new construction or a big remodel, absolutely go for a tankless water heater. They take up less space. Now, there's another downside too, which is in a traditional tank water heater, if the power goes out, you still have hot water. And I live in Ramona, as I've told you many times, when we had the big fires, the water system actually shut down. And so a tank water heater is a source of water for you to cook with. Even if it's not hot, you can still, bathe, you can do other things.
That's
a tankless
big.
water heater, because they require electricity, if the power goes out, you're not going to have any hot water. And there's no storage.
Water, right?
And there's no storage. There's no potable water that you can store if you need to cook. And after some of the big fires in Ramona, we were without the city water for almost a week.
Holy smokes.
So, yeah.
Wow. So that's kind of a big deal.
It is.
It seems to me like a more efficient, kind of old school tank water heater might make more sense.
They're reliable. They've been around for a long time, and in some cases, it's like an old telephone, the old plug-in kind, not a cordless. And if the power goes out, your cordless phones don't work, nothing works, but that old wired telephone
That old
works.
rotary phone still works.
Yep, that dial one. My in-laws have one like that just for that reason.
When it comes to stuff like your water and having hot water, that kind of sounds like I want old reliable.
You don't realize it until something goes wrong and you're without. So like any energy efficient upgrade, whether you're talking about a furnace, light bulbs, whatever, always do the math. Don't be misled by somebody claiming that you're going to save 80% on your electric bill or your gas bill. Because remember that even with a light bulb, you're only saving on that portion of the lighting usage, not on your whole electric bill.
Right.
So.
And you guys inspect more homes in San Diego than any other company. So you guys are in a lot of homes. A lot of and you say these old-fashioned water heaters last about 10 years. My guess is there are some people out there who have some water heaters that are a little past that.
Oh yeah.
And you probably see that a lot. By going to one of these newer, high-efficiency ones, they can probably save some money just by doing that to justify the cost of a new one.
You're right. Simply replacing a new water heater or replacing an old one with a new one is going to save you money, even if it's the exact same technology, because over time, a lot of dirt and silt settles in the bottom of your tank water heater, and we're all supposed to flush our water heaters once a year. You run a hose out, and there's that big spigot on the side. No one ever does it. I guarantee it. And so you get a layer of muck at the bottom, which acts like an insulating blanket, and it takes longer to heat the water. It's the recovery rate. So when you've depleted the hot water and the flame comes on to heat that water, that big layer of muck at the bottom slows down that process. So you're using more gas. So even simply replacing an old water heater with a new one is going to save you some money on your monthly bill because it's going to be more efficient. But it'll also save you money by avoiding any kind of leaks or going without hot water, because water heaters after about 10 years do start to leak or stop working as efficiently.
Yeah, and I don't care how hot it is, and it can get hot in San Diego. It can get hot in Ramona.
Oh yeah.
I don't care how hot it is, though. You always need hot water.
For some dishes.
Something you always need it. Yes.
Absolutely.
You always need hot water, so it does not matter what's going on with the weather or anything like this. Is one of those things, it's a staple thing. You use it every single day. So it probably needs more attention, and I'm glad that you came in today to tell us all about how it all works. Because I actually had a lot of those misnomers too. I thought that you got the instant hot water and all that stuff. Simply not true. What'd you call it, the cold water sandwich?
Yep.
Or the hot water sandwich if you're drinking out of the hose.
That's right.
Philippe Peller from the Real Estate Inspection Company, thank you so much for being here, my friend. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Commercial free.
Our next guest is going to teach us how to invest in real estate in San Diego. Please welcome Realtor from Century 21, Steve Ploetz.
Welcome back, Smarter San Diego. There he is, Steve Ploetz. How are you, my friend?
Hey, how's it going? How's it going? Good to be here.
Well, excellent.
Let's do something interesting. Want to talk about something interesting?
I would love to talk about interesting.
Let's make it interesting.
Let's go right into something interesting. You've talked a lot about real estate investing in the past. Tell me a little bit. What do we need to know?
I have in the past. Right now, too. know, it's fun stuff. It is, especially if you have, if you're not stupid.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait a minute. I'm not Steve. You're Steve.
Wait a second.
You're Steve.
That's right.
I'm Derek.
Oh.
We need to switch.
All right.
Hold on. Boom. There it is. All right. Good. Whew. It was weird.
Yeah,
there.
It feels better now.
This feels right. So, Steve, thank you for coming in today, first of all. I think now's a really hard time to invest in San Diego real estate. And I know you're a type of guy who will shoot us straight here. But tell me how all the people out there who are even having trouble buying their own homes to live in can plot the course to potentially actually become an investor and own real estate that they can rent out or flip or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that exactly as you've alluded to, the biggest challenge is that you're competing with owner-occupied buyers. You're competing with buyers that are purchasing for a roof over their head, and as we've talked about numerous times, people are buying that on how it makes them feel and emotion and all these things that are not price per square foot and are not investment pieces. So I think that as an investor, and whether it's a first time or it's something that you've done many, many times, you need to be very strict about your guidelines and very strict about what are the things that you're willing and unwilling to do. And it may take more offers than you're comfortable with in order to actually crack into one. So how do you do it? A variety of different ways. Number one is you need to identify the correct types of sellers. As we've talked about, there are sellers that price is very important, but it's not the most important thing. Trust sales where somebody has passed away and there's 3 different trustees that are all over the United States. They want to sell that property and they want to sell it at a good price, but most importantly, they want to sell it. And so they want to be done with it. And so if you have the ability in order to say, look, I'm already been pre-approved, I can close this out, I can do short contingencies, I know what I'm looking for, I've already seen the property, I can waive some contingencies up front, not recommending that you do that, but all of those things will help get you a foot in the door. So that's a place to start, and then certainly from there is identifying the types of properties that you want, the types of tenants that you want, and make some decisions from there. So which opens up a huge conversation, which is...
Yeah, well, first of all, just like right now, early 2017 in San Diego, prices have been going up for like 5-6 straight years.
Right.
So, as an investor, do you have to wait for the right time? Like, do you need to now be timing? Because we're talking about buying residential real estate, for roof over your head, it really doesn't matter. If you're going to live there for the long term, let's say 10 plus years, it doesn't matter. You don't have to look at the market. But as an investor now, do I have to pay attention to that? Do I have to look and go, well, the market's a little higher, now maybe I should wait? Or how do you navigate that element of the now?
Well, and so I can only speak from my own personal experience, which is the investing that my wife and I have done, is we look for 2 main criteria. One is appreciation, and the other is cash flow. If it only has one of those criteria, we're not interested. Gotcha. If I'm making $100 a month, but overall in the long term this doesn't become a good investment, I'm not interested. If I'm losing $250 per month on it, it's not a good investment in my opinion. And so what we look for is a 6% return. If I invest $100,000, I want to make $6,000 that year, because otherwise most people have a mortgage, and that mortgage comes with an interest rate. So that interest rate for us is around 4%. If I'm not getting 4%, I might as well put that money in my mortgage and pay down my principal, because there I'm getting that return on that money. So the short answer is, I don't think that there is specifically an ability to time the market, but I do think that you can do what you can on the front end to protect yourself and make sure that you're walking into some equity. It may not be as big as it has been in the past, but multiple offer situations are at least helpful to know there's other people that are interested in this property, so if I won out and beat them out by $5,000, maybe they would be willing to come up in another month or 2. And then the big thing to me is the cash flow. Crunching the numbers and figuring out not only principal, interest, taxes, insurance, but HOAs, vacancies. How long is the property going to sit vacant, and what does that cost me as the investor? What do I need to fix up? How much is that going to cost me? So that you look at it from a dollar and cents kind of situation, whereas the average typical homeowner that buys a house, they look at their monthly payment. And then they're surprised by supplemental tax bill. They're surprised by the work that needs to go into the property, those types of things, and that screws up all your numbers.
Yeah, you have to, now when you're saying 6%, are you saying including all like maintenance
Everything.
costs and everything?
Vacancies, everything. That's what I want. And so certainly, and that's optimistic, especially in this marketplace where we're talking about probably every realtor you've had on here is talking about multiple offers, very limited inventory, blah, blah, blah. It does make it more challenging. So it has to pencil. Because if it doesn't pencil, it doesn't make sense in any way, shape, or form to all of a sudden jump into a market that is hot with the expectation that, hey, I'll ride it out. I don't care if I'm losing money every month. In the end, it's going to be a great investment and I'll be able to sell it in a couple years. That's a bad way to jump in.
So you need income and appreciation to feel good about it. What about vacation renting? I mean, is that the property type that people should be looking for? Because that would be considered to be income side.
Correct. Yeah, like VRBO or Airbnb. I think there's some challenges with that. Typically, those types of properties need to be in specific neighborhoods. If I live in Kansas and I'm coming to San Diego, I live in Vista. I love Vista. I'm probably not coming to live in Vista. If I'm going to come out here for a week, I want to go to all the coastal communities. I want to go to Carlsbad, Encinitas, Del Mar, Solana Beach, La Jolla, downtown, all of those places where there's stuff going on. And those price points have become extremely competitive and could make an argument for some of those price points are a little overinflated. So is it a good investment? Maybe. I think it's a case-by-case situation, but when you look at those neighborhoods overall, they don't pencil.
So maybe more risk, but potentially more reward.
Potentially, yes.
If things continue to go the way they have.
And so here's my big thought of it. If you're buying an investment and you need to say that, if things continue to go the way they're going, it's a bad investment. You don't want that.
Yeah, you need it to be safer than that.
You want to be something that you step into today and you say, hey, look, I don't know what's going to happen to the market. However, here's what I do know. I'm walking into equity some today. I'm walking into cash flow today. These things I can control. So if you're not walking into that and you're hoping if everything continues, if this market continues, then you're not a savvy investor. Then anybody can become an investor. Just buy a house.
Yeah. Well, I think that one of the things that's turned me off on the vacation rental side of things is just that I feel like a lot of these properties that are vacation rentable have it already priced in. It's already priced in that they're going to have, more income, and so then you go and you're buying a place based on that, but you're not really getting that equity. That seller is getting that equity from you. You're having to pay for that equity. And now if you lose that for some reason, heaven forbid, citywide rule changes, or like in Del Mar, they outlawed it basically.
Right.
Then all of a sudden you just lost big time. So setting yourself up for less of that, more upside, right? That's what you're talking about. You want to set yourself up for more upside. Like, I don't want to have to say, oh, well, if this happens, then it's a good investment. No, you want to set yourself up for this, a lot of upside. So in a tight market like this then, how do I approach this? I mean, is it literally just a numbers game where I'm going to have to say, okay, hey, Steve, I've saved up some money. I already own my own home. I want to invest in more real estate. Do I just need to be in, do I have to write 100 offers? Do I have to stare at the real estate market every day? Like, how do I get ahead in such a competitive situation?
Well, and I think that you can work backwards a little bit, and you can figure out probably what you're going to want to do is start small. You're going to want to start with a, a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, maybe a condo, maybe something that's more affordable in a lower price point, and recognize what are the demographics that you're going to rent to. If you're near the military base, potentially you've got military clientele. If you're in a smaller place, maybe that's a young professional. If you've got a 1 or 2 bedroom, you're probably not renting to a family. And so understanding the demographics as well and the advantages and disadvantages of each demographic. Students are great in that mom and dad oftentimes co-sign, but the downside is they only want to be there for 9 months. Usually they don't want to have a rental where they're there June, July, and August because they're out of school and they'd rather go home or do other things. So identifying who the demographic is as well will also help you work backwards. So then you can figure out, okay, I've got a 1 or 2 bedroom. Who likely would this property rent to, and what can I command and rent, and then work the other way.
Okay, I got it. So you kind of have to begin with the end in mind, essentially.
Begin with the end in mind.
Okay, fantastic stuff. Great advice. Is there any other advice that you would have for potentially a new investor out there who's getting cracking right now?
Well, I think that it's worth it to take a look at it, because as an investment class, I mean, all we hear about in the financial world is diversify your portfolio, and hey, don't be entirely in residential real estate, don't be entirely in mutual funds, don't be entirely in all these different places. What I love about it is it's a great diversification to have potentially through the equity proposition where I'm paying myself the equity over time because I'm leveraging and I'm putting 25% down and getting and using all that equity. I think all of that is really helpful. Here's what I mean. I didn't explain that very well, so let me describe it. Let's use $100,000 just because that's a round number. You certainly wouldn't need $100,000 to invest into real estate, but that's a great way to start. If I have $100,000 and I want to buy in the stock market, and I discover I want to buy UPS, and it's trading at $100 a share, I can buy 1,000 shares of UPS. Or if I buy in residential real estate because of leveraging, I can take $100,000 and I can put 25% down, and now I'm buying a $400,000 house. So in both situations, if the market jumps 10%, my UPS shares have gone from $100 a share to $110 a share, and I make $10,000, or my $400,000 house goes to $440,000. Same appreciation amount, however, it impacts me greater because I'm able to leverage. And so that's the benefit, in my opinion, of residential real estate, or all real estate, is the ability to leverage.
Great stuff, Steve. Thank you so much for your time today.
Really
appreciate
it. Thank you, Steve, or Derek.
Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.
The champ is here, and she's going to tell us how we can help repair San Diego after our last bout of rain. Please welcome Elizabeth Story.
And it's official. We are live.
Woo!
Yes.
Yes.
So hashtag Repair San Diego. Let's
Yes.
tell you what that's all about. You know, here's the funny thing. When I first moved here from Missouri, which you would think Missouri, the roads would be much, much worse. When I first moved here from Missouri, I was blown away by how awful the roads were in San Diego. I mean, I couldn't believe how many enormous potholes there were, and just how bumpy the ride is driving on any average road in San Diego. So, Elizabeth, tell us about hashtag Repair San Diego, what it is that you're doing in the community there.
So I want it to be a really convenient way for us to start tracking all of the issues that we have in San Diego. And really this stems from the fact that San Diego is one of the most beautiful cities in the entire world. It's just gorgeous, but we really have some improvement that needs to be made in our infrastructure, in our roads, and in our storm drains most immediately, and especially after all this really heavy rain that we've had. A lot of people have been complaining about ever since the heavy rains. Our roads are just a hot mess. So what we're going to do is talk about all the ways that you can get involved, but the very, very least, if you're on the go, you're too busy, you don't have time to report it to the city, you can post photos and intersections online and use the hashtag Repair San Diego, and we can start tracking dates and intersections and places where the repair is so heavily needed.
That's an interesting concept. So for people who don't understand how social media works, so let's say I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I can just put hashtag Repair San Diego, take a picture of the enormous pothole, which I need to take a picture of one already on my mind.
Yes.
And then what happens to it? Where does it go somewhere, or how does that work?
So that's not an official city reporting mechanism, but what it's going to be is a place where we can start tracking it, and we're going to have a team of people who actually, if they haven't been reported, they're going to be able to report them. So I'll be sharing some links on my page. I already did. For anyone who's out there watching it live, go over to Story Estates or my page right now, and there's places where you can report it. So the city repairs about 30,000 potholes a year, and what they've done is they've started doing it by district, so that they can cluster their pothole repair. Some of those repairs are already underway, so on the links that I have provided, it'll show you a list of districts and what the timing is. And it's basically from January through March, they're going through all the districts and doing a lot of repairs. So it's really time sensitive that if you have something in your district and they haven't made it to your district yet, you want to get it reported because you want it to be on the repair list as soon as possible. And the city's actually asking for people's help in reporting these potholes.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for them as they have to dispatch people to go fix it and manage all that. But discovering new stuff, that's kind of up to us to let them know, like, hey, by the way, I keep driving. There's one on Via de la Valle that I keep hitting, and it's like shakes my whole car. I have an SUV. I can't imagine like being on a cord and like driving through that thing. But it's crazy how deep the potholes get here, and I don't know what's up with that. but it's wild. So this isn't just potholes, though, right? It's other stuff.
Well, and I want to come back to that deep potholes thing because there's
Okay.
there's a whole sinkhole thing that we need to talk about too. But
Oh,
maybe
boy.
there's a whole other episode for that. But so the potholes are a big ongoing issue. We need to find a way where we can track them, like I said. But also storm drains. Now, storm drains has been an issue for a long time, and there's a lot of people that know about it. And the theory exists, and I'm not saying whether it's true or not, that it's cheaper for the city to just pay out the damage from these other overflowing storm drains than it is to really fix it. Because the storm drain is a much lighter underlying problem, if you will. It's underground infrastructure and it's extremely expensive to fix. So again, during all these heavy rains, you know, there's known issues with storm drains backing up in North Park, Logan Heights, various areas around the city that, for example, I've had multiple clients whose property were actually flooded by those storm drains.
Seriously?
Yeah. And again, it's cheaper for the city to pay for the damage than it is for them to actually fix the problem. But as San Diego continues to grow, as we continue to have new construction, you know, we've got that whole Embarcadero District project, which is a 40-acre project. It's going to be adding a lot of properties. We can't just ignore these things. Again, it's a huge tourist city. We're working on getting a Major League Soccer team now. We're still talking about this convention center expansion. We want to continue being an epicenter for the world to come and have these events. We can't do it if they can't drive on the roads to begin with because they're so messed up. It's embarrassing, San Diego.
It is. It is. And now I go back home to Missouri and I drive on the roads and I'm like, man, this is amazing. It's like driving on glass. Yeah. I mean, seriously, in comparison. So I've never understood that. And I don't know if it's a budget thing. I don't know if it's a materials thing. I don't know if it's a because the sun is beating down on it so often thing. I don't get the cause.
Right.
But I do know that we need to have something like this, hashtag Repair San Diego, which is an opportunity for people to get involved.
Right.
And start letting people know how big the problem really is. Because if you think about it, people at the city, they don't know how big the problem is unless we tell them.
Right. Well, and that's part of the reason why I want to talk about this right now, because we've got heavy rains and we've got all these people who are super pumped up about politics and wanting to get involved and wanting to see all this change, and there's so much activism going on right now. Why not start at home? Why not start at home in the place that you live, work, breathe every single day, and start simple with things like infrastructure? You know, on the links that I posted, it talks about who's responsible for what. So it's now time as San Diegans to start holding people accountable to the repairs that need to happen in our own city.
Yeah, and this is really simple. It's easier than it sounds. But if you take a picture with your cell phone, post it on Facebook, Twitter, hashtag Repair San Diego, and then tell us where it is.
Yep.
So some kind of description of where it is, and then we'll be able to help get that escalated, right?
Yeah, and you can even, so there's a whole list on there too. It's not just storm drains, it's not just potholes. Those are things I'm kind of focusing on right now, but also sidewalks, lights, various things, tree trimming. It's all there. All the information is there. So let's all get active in our communities and start making it more beautiful.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And so what is, now you said that it's very involved time politically, which I don't know. I didn't see that. I don't know where that is.
I was talking about.
But what is sort of the mechanism behind this for you? I mean, you obviously have a motivation to sort of take something like this on and make this an important, front of mind thing. What is your sort of passion? Where does that come from?
I don't get anything for this except for the satisfaction of knowing that I'm helping my city. And like I said, I have had clients who have been directly affected by it, but it bugs me. It bugs me when I'm driving around in this beautiful, beautiful city that I love to call home and that I never want to leave. But I'm looking at the roads, I'm thinking, God, this is a shame. God, this is a shame. I should do something about this. Well, I have a voice. I have this show as a platform for my voice, and I have a lot of people in the community that I'm involved with. So this is kind of my project for this year. I want to start doing something to give back to this city that's given me so much.
Amazing. Now, as far as the different, quadrangles in San Diego, right? You have all these different cities, like El Cajon is its own city, but there's the county. So does anyone need to have that in mind, or is just the hashtag Repair San Diego, like for example, if I'm in Del Mar, if I hashtag Repair San Diego, will that ultimately get routed to the right people? Do they even need to worry about that?
I'm hoping it becomes so popular that they're actually looking at it. But again, you're not officially reporting it by doing that. You're just kind of date and time stamping it, that it's a known issue. And then what we're going to be doing is making sure that everything gets logged that has been reported.
Gotcha. So this is just a way to essentially start logging the stuff so that you can get the people who are making those decisions, who are dispersing those resources, pay attention to this hashtag. Okay, that's amazing. What a good idea that is. Got any other good ideas?
I'm full of them. How much time you got?
Any other good ideas that we can talk about on live?
On live? Oh, I know what you're getting at. No, not yet. But stay tuned, because this is some big news gonna hit San Diego.
Yeah, you've got some good ones. Okay, so let's recap. Hashtag Repair San Diego. We need to know location. So, just taking a picture of the pothole or backed up storm drain or broken light or sign that's down or whatever isn't good enough. We need actually to know the location. So hashtag Repair San Diego, take a picture of it. Facebook, Twitter. Do any other social medias work with the hashtag? I don't know.
I feel old.
I feel like the hashtags just sort of like, it's just a way to categorize it, right? Like hashtag is just a category. It's like if you were blogging, like you put it in a category, Repair San Diego, with doing the hashtag. But I don't know in the hashtag world, do any of our young folk in here know? Does the hashtag, does that work on other social medias? Instagram. Facebook, Twitter. But like other ones, yeah, I don't know. So let's stick with those.
Yeah.
Let's stick with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for the hashtags on this, and let's get some stuff in there. Let's show them that this is something that people care about, and that we can actually deliver to them some stuff that needs to be done. And I tell you right now, I'm going to make the first few.
Okay.
Yeah, that's for sure. Because in my area, and I'm in Del Mar, but I'm all over. Here's Sorrento Valley, all over. Up to Encinitas all the time, and it's just mind-boggling to me how awful the roads are. That's one thing I just still don't understand. But Elizabeth, this is an awesome idea. You're full of them. I know there's more to come. Thank you so much today for coming and sharing this with us, and thank you all for joining us live right here on the Smarter San Diego Facebook page, and of course on Smarter San Diego TV. We will be back. That's live for you. We'll be back next week, same time, same channel. We'll see you then.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap.
It's all about problem solving in a creative way.